Hello,
Hello.
it's time for Tripura Rahasya.
Juicy.
Tripura. Tripura, of course, Pura means city, Tri means three. So there's 1, 2, 3 cities. And this is the one consciousness that operates through this city, and this city out here. Hence Tripura. And Rahasya means the secret. So this is the secret of the one and the three cities, sometimes affectionately referred to as Divine Mother, a tantric rendering. And let's see, maybe what I will do is look again. I like to look at this paragraph here because it's from Swami Rama in the introduction. There's a very brief he talks about a yogi who has attained this level. Such a great yogi does not belong to any caste, creed, sex, or ethnic group because he has already transcended all such superficial limitations. Now, the spirit of this is one of the reasons that is high, Scott, that it's so hard. The temptation for most of us is tell me about tradition. What is the name of your thing and all like that. It's one of the reasons that is so hard to do because there comes a point. And even if you're not as attained personally yet in direct experience, you know where we're going. You understand the foundation principle. And the foundation principle is not belonging to any caste, creed, sex, or ethnic group, because of already transcending all such superficial limitations. So notice even their sex is included in there. So, I'm in a male body, Matri is in a male body, but if we're holding this male notion
body.
in
male
the,
body. You said male.
I'm in a male body, Matri is in a female body. And so it's the illusion is very strong. Scott thinks he's a male. Rosalind thinks she's female. Roseanne thinks she's female. Hashim, Guten Morgen, thinks he's a male. And so this is just pointing out that from the height of what we're talking about, one has transcended, does not feel any personal sense of caste, or of creed, or of sex, or of any ethnic group. Or we know what the name of the country is on our passport, but more and more and more, we each come in our own experience to see that this is not who I am. And so here he's using this language because he has already transcended all such superficial limitations. Well, you and I may not have 100% totally transcended all of those superficial limitations, but as we keep hanging out with this stuff and keep doing our meditations and doing our contemplations, it becomes, does it not, clearer and clearer and clearer and clearer? Yes, a blob, says Scott. That's what we call. Who did we call a blob the other day? I said, yeah, there was a blob of Matri walking over here. And so we start to see that's more and more true. So here Swami Rama is referring to the adept who has transcended all such superficial limitations. But every one of us that hangs out in these satsangs has some degree of understanding of that. We may not be a Krishna or a Christ or a Buddha or a Swami Rama, or pick your favorite name. We may not be there. The knowledge that enlightens such an aspirant is called Tripura Rahasya. The text by that name, which we're going through, is one of the most significant scriptures in the tradition of Tantra Yoga. And that's the pinnacle of this tradition. And as you know, we talk a lot about yoga, as in Yoga Sutras. We talk about the contemplation that's in the Vedanta, and we talk about the Tantra. And this is This is the premiere of Samaya Tantra. We're not going to go, but we've been through those levels here in the introduction. Those are introduced. But anyway, that which I just read again is a little chunk from the introduction to this text by Swami Rama. Now we're going to do, tonight, we're going to go through chapter 1. And I want to go through these chapters as we do from day to day in small chunks. So some of the times, some of these chapters are shorter. There's a few of them later on that are pretty long. But most of these will be shorter. And remember that in this story, Parushamama, we've already covered this, but Parushamama is the student. He's a really advanced student. He's a pretty cool guy. He's well prepared. And the teacher is Dattatreya. And I think we talked before about the fact that Dattatreya is often telling stories to Parushamama. And if we remember that when we're in a chapter in where Dattatreya is telling a story to Parushamama, that story becomes so rich that it's easy, I find it's easy to accidentally pay with chapter 1. It's easy to accidentally forget that it's Dattatreya telling a story to Parushamama. Okay, so just remember that. So even if we hear another story, it's a story being told by Dattatreya. Here we go. This chapter is entitled "The Quest of Parushamama and the Grace of Gurudeva Dattatreya." Homage to the absolute reality, the source and embodiment of bliss, the supreme consciousness, here termed as she, the mother, who is, and remember, that's the symbol. It's not that there's a woman up there in the sky any more than there is a man up there in the sky. There's this manifesting process outward. Well, in nature, who manifests outward? Masculine or feminine? We all know it. It's the feminine that gives birth. It's in nature. You know, we all came from a mother's womb. We did not come from a father's womb. This is not to put down the father. These are symbols. Homage to the absolute reality, the source and embodiment of bliss, the supreme consciousness, here termed as she, the mother, who is both the magnificent image of the universe and the mirror in which this dazzling reflection appears. The sage Haritayana asked, "O Narada, have you listened carefully to the canto extolling the glory of the absolute reality known as Tripura? Just listening to it is one of the most definite means of achieving liberation. I will now tell you the wondrous Janakanda of the Tripura Rahasya. After listening to it attentively, a sadhaka is no longer subject to grief. This philosophy was developed after studying the Vedas, Vaishnavism, Shaivism, Shaktism, and Pashupata. There is no other philosophy that can be comprehended by the intellect as easily as this which Dattatreya taught to Parushamama." And the more I look at this, the more I admire the translation and the English choices of words to present this wisdom to us in an understandable way. I'm totally impressed by it. My absolute favorite quote, "Homage to the absolute reality," says Raj. Yes. The teaching imparted here is based on logic and reasoning. If, after receiving this knowledge, a person still does not comprehend it, he is indeed unfortunate. And now I shall narrate the knowledge expressed in this canto of the Tripura Rahasya. The behavior of the enlightened ones is beyond the comprehension of ordinary people. That is the reason why a sage like you delights in these stories filled with wisdom. As the musk deer emanates its fragrance, similarly, such enlightened sages influence the life of many, particularly those who are on the path. Those who are not doing this, I will add, probably don't hear anything in these stories. It's just another storybook, just more poetry. But if we're doing this stuff, then this thing speaks. Parushamama heard the Mahatyamakanda from the mouth of Dattatreya. Parushamama's heart was purified, overwhelmed by divinity, utterly calm and tranquil. His attention became one-pointed and inward for a while. He then regained normal awareness. Tears flowed from his eyes, and his whole body vibrated, for his heart was overflowing with spiritual bliss. His heart was not able to contain that overwhelming bliss. With all humility, he prostrated at his guru's lotus feet. When Parushamama gained awareness, he spontaneously uttered, "O Gurudev, through your grace, I am blessed. I am blessed." You, the ocean of compassion, Shiva himself, have blessed me. Your blessings are incomparable. And isn't it true that we all have a taste of tremendous appreciation and gratitude from what we gain from doing such things together, and for the people who help to serve us? When the Gurudev is pleased, there is no difference between mortality and immortality. I consider that I have received the mystery and attained the essential knowledge of Mother Divine, Tripura, by your grace. O Lord, from you I have known the mysterious knowledge of Mother Divine and received, and received her grace. I want to dedicate myself to the Mother of the universe. Please show me the way of devotion. Now, this devotion is not merely for a man or a woman in the sky as a separate being. It's this awesome, overwhelming bliss that comes. That's the nature of this higher devotion. The formless devotion is much richer than the devotion that is of form, between a form called me and a form of another separate being. This is much richer. Dattatreya observed that Parushamama was fully prepared and endowed with firm faith and devotion, so he initiated him step by step into the worship of Tripura. So in some sense, that level of devotion that Parushamama was talking about is the thing that allows him to start the journey. Not end, but start. One auspicious day, Parushamama received the initiation of Tripura, that which leads to the highest. As a honeybee collects nectar from the various flowers, Parushamama gathered from his master all the means and methods of sadhana. He had to do the gathering. He had to listen. Dattatreya is putting it out, but he had to take it in. That was up to him to do. Overwhelmed with joy, he received permission from his master to return to the mountains to perfect the science of Tripura. So where did he perfect the science of Tripura? By sitting there in the constant presence of Dattatreya? No, he had to go off and do the sadhana. This is inescapable for all of us. We have to take it in, and then we must do it ourselves. Then when help is needed, grace comes. He circumambulated his master with reverence, took his leave, left him, and went to the mountain called Mahendra so that he could do the sadhana. There he built a beautiful and comfortable shelter and engaged in sadhana for 12 years. So where is the comfortable shelter that one should have in our modern world? It's your own home. People do not need to come to this ashram or that ashram. People write emails, say, I want to leave my home and my job and my family and go live in an ashram. The principle is turn your own home into the ashram that your heart longs to be in. There he built a beautiful and comfortable shelter and engaged in sadhana for 12 years. While following his daily sadhana, he devoted himself to worship, mantra japa, and meditation on the goddess Tripura with a one-pointed mind. Excuse me. 12 years passed as if in a moment. Then one day, while sitting cheerfully, not depressed, cheerfully, Parushamama began thinking, long ago, while the sage Samvarta and I were walking together, Samvarta answered my question about the glory of Tripura. At that time, I did not understand the significance of his words. I completely forgot what he said, so I could not affirm it by asking my Gurudeva. I requested my master Dattatreya to reveal to me the mystery of the universe, the true nature of the goddess Tripura. He considered my question irrelevant and ignored it. So my question remains unanswered. I do not know the secret of the universe. From where did this vast universe appear? How can it exist, and where will it rest after its final dissolution? Everything seems to be unstable. Still Parushamama talking. How can a relationship with an impermanent object last? All worldly activities seem confusing and mysterious. Sound familiar? The behavior of the ignorant is like the blind following the blind. My own life is an example of this. I do not remember what happened in my childhood at all. I was a different person as an adolescent, still another person in my youth, and now my behavior is completely different. What the result of all those changes is, I do not know. Nor do I understand the cause of the relationship underlying changes. Nor do I remember what happened, at what time, and by what means. Sounds pretty confused, doesn't he? Probably sounds familiar, huh? Has anyone ever received what he really wanted from his so-called right actions? Has anyone ever attained happiness from action? Did anyone ever become happy? Whatever a person thinks he wants is not his desired object at all, because after attaining it, he suddenly wants something different. Sound familiar? If one has attained the fruits, then why does he desire the fruits again? I see that everyone is doing his duty for the purpose of attaining the fruits. Looks like our world, doesn't it? The fruits can neither give freedom from sorrow nor bestow happiness. As long as karma still remains to be performed, there cannot be freedom from sorrow, nor can there be happiness. Just as it is in vain to treat someone dying of thirst by rubbing cold sandalwood paste on his feet. Can't treat someone by dying of thirst by rubbing cold sandalwood paste on his feet, it is equally senseless to try to gain happiness by running after worldly pleasures. Therefore, one whose duty remains to be accomplished can never be happy. If a man's chest is badly injured by arrows, he will not enjoy the embrace of even the celestial damsels. How can one whose worldly duty is not over expect to gain happiness? How can the best of music and song bring cheer to one who is in agony from an incurable disease? In reality, those who are free from the burden of their karmas are happy in the world. They are joyous sages. They are tranquil within and without. If one is burdened by karmas, how is it possible for him to be happy? If one is going to be hanged to death and is honored by a beautiful lei of sandalwood, will he be comforted? Oh, it is astonishing that a person who is caught in the snare of worldly obligations actually believes that this trap is the prelude to happiness and conscientiously carries out these duties. I'm going to read that sentence again. Let it sink in. Oh, it is astonishing that a person who is caught in the snare of worldly obligations actually believes that this trap is the prelude to happiness and conscientiously carries out those duties. How can I honor people who consider themselves to be happy while burdened by innumerable obligations? Both an emperor and a beggar constantly search for peace and happiness. Their concepts of happiness are different. One is happy by acquiring a kingdom, the other by receiving a coin. Both consider themselves to be blessed. Dropping this idea, shall I go to my revered Gurudeva and request the solution to my problem? This is indeed an act of auspiciousness. The words of my Gurudeva will help me cross the ocean of delusion. Parushamama set out immediately from Mount Mahendra to see his Gurudeva. So he got the teachings, he went to the mountain to do the sadhana, he went through all of this that we just read and says, I can't do it, I can't figure this out, I'm going to go ask the boss again. Soon he arrived at Mount Gandhamadana, and there he saw his master seated in the lotus posture like a self-illumined sun. Self-illumined sun. He prostrated in front of his master's wooden sandals. Then, holding the sandals in his palm, he reverentially placed his head on them. Accepting Parushamama's reverential greeting with appreciation, Dattatreya lifted him with compassion and blessings and embraced him. Son, I am seeing you after a long time. How are you? Are you healthy? So even Dattatreya is looking at him and acknowledging Parushamama in the body. So when he says, are you healthy? Is he referring to Parushamama as Atman? Of course not. He's referring to Parushamama as the physical human being who has come in front of him. So he says, are you healthy? So if somebody says, how are you feeling? And you're healthy. If I say to Matri, how are you doing today? And she gives me a sarcastic answer, says, well, I'm just Atman today. This is ridiculous. We all know we need to live in the world. We live in the body, so there's nothing wrong with saying, how are you feeling today? There's nothing wrong with saying, I feel I'm tired today. We all know Atman is not tired. We know that it means me as this constellation of Antakarna. I'm tired today. What do you want to do? You say, well, I want to go take a walk. I want to go to the gym. I want to go to a movie. I want to run away from home. I want to go to the beach. That we all know that. And so this is the engagement here. So Dattatreya says, son, I am seeing you after a long time. How are you? Are you healthy? Received thus, Parushamama sat down on the cushion and after saluting his Gurudeva reverentially began to speak. O Gurudeva, ocean of compassion, how can one who has received your grace suffered from misery? You know, I came to you before, you helped me out, you explained all of this to me, I went to the mountain to do the stuff, and I'm still an idiot. And so how can this be? You've given to me, you've given to me, you've given to me. How is it possible that I'm still suffering from misery? I am fully protected by the shield of your grace. Then how can this cruel misery come near me? He still wants to know. I feel your grace within and without. Separation from you is the only pain I have. And now, after being in your presence, that has vanished. But something has lingered in my heart for a long time. Just imagine this. There's Parushamama going to Dattatreya. He's home and he's feeling great. And he says, but there's still something bothering me. Because of that, my mind is always full of doubt. With your permission, may I ask you to resolve this? Hearing this, the compassionate Dattatreya joyfully said, Parushamama, ask whatever questions you have. Delighted with your devotion, I will answer them happily. Notice Parushamama did not come to him and the boss said, how are you doing? Oh, I'm doing really great. Fine. I remember Swami Rama a few times talking about this, the craziness of people. He said he stood in front of the hospital, people going into the hospital. He said, how are you doing today? Fine. Why are you going into the hospital if you're fine? So the thing that Parushamama is saying is, here's what's going on. You taught me. I should know this stuff. I heard it. I got the message. I heard it. I felt like I understood something about Tripura. And I went off to the mountain to finish the stuff, and I'm still screwed up. I should do better than that. And so he comes to Dattatreya. Does Dattatreya beat up on him? No. He understands because he understands the process and says, of course we can talk. Of course we will keep going. And he sees in front of him a very, very good seeker and a good quality sadhaka, a very sincere Parushamama. And of course I will respond and answer happily because Dattatreya understands his stuff. He's gone down this road himself and seen others go down it himself. So he just keeps talking to him, spends time with him. Doesn't say, oh, you foolish Parushamama, go back to the mountain and keep doing your thing. Of course, we'll talk again and again and again and again. And in our own small way, what are we doing now, tonight? We're starting one more time through the journey of the Tripura Rahasya. We have gone through this online together, 4 or 5 times like this. And some of you have this book and have read it yourself a couple times. And yet here we are, we're going to do it again. And so remember this first chapter. Remember the introduction that we read, and remember this first chapter. He was a very sincere student, highly skilled. It was explained to him what Tripura was and what to do. He went off to the mountain to do it. He came back and he just sat there, was still totally frustrated, including, I am a failure. I should not be a failure. You've given me grace. You've taught me. You've done all this for me. And still I don't get it. I'm still suffering. How is this possible? And this is me asking you, allow yourself to identify with Parushamama. Just like when we go through the Bhagavad Gita, allow yourself to see yourself in the shoes, so to speak, of Arjuna. Allow yourself to live the experience of Parushamama. You know that you studied stuff. You know that you have a meditation practice. You sit for meditation. I think probably everybody in this conversation, every day you sit for meditation. The information is not new. But then why does it still feel like something is missing? Well, this is what is in this chapter here. And so this is me talking to you. Just allow yourself to relate to the misery is the word that was used here, the misery that Parusharama is going through. And then
it's 7:30.
Then the journey will go on. And we'll pause there. Now, I'm not going to try to keep going with this. I want this to sink in. Pause with this, and if you're with me when we do the next one in a couple days, okay. And if not, tune in to the next one, and we'll watch the journey unfold of Dattatreya answering Parashurama's questions. And as you know from going through this before, it's not an easy journey. And he has doubts. He gets answers. He gets insight. He thinks he's there, thinks I got it. And you know this is familiar. And then one more time, he will one more time say, I've screwed up again. I still don't get it. Tell me another story, Dattatreya. And they'll talk again and again and again. Okay? Thank you for playing, everybody. Thank you for playing, Roseanne. Everybody, thank you. This is an incredible story, isn't it? Remember the suggestion there that says, one who goes through this and understands this has made great strides in doing this. Tripura, the one who dwells in the three cities. And remember, the tantric way of saying is, I, out here in my ignorance, can be aware that there is one, and she dwells in 1, 2, 3 cities. And so, in our avidya, we can hold in awareness that Tripura is there. It's the same thing as Turiya, 1, 2, 3, 4, but it has a different feel to it, doesn't it? It's a different orientation. I'm sitting here, I'm Parusharama, I'm sitting here in my misery and in my ignorance, but still I can be aware that there is the one, and she is living in those 3 cities. And thank you for playing, Nilesh. We're going to see Nilesh pretty soon. I guess it's turned out. Matri told me that it had changed from Thursday. You were coming on Thursday, and it has now changed to coming on Friday. And so either day, looking forward to it.
The doses are moved from Friday to Saturday.
But the doses will now be moved from Friday to Saturday, Matri just said. But that just means that they will be especially good. We will be in misery. We will be in the misery of Parusharama on Friday because we will have no doses. But we will ride through the storm.
Maybe we will.
Or maybe we will. Maybe if we cry enough, Ma Dattatreya Tripura Shakti will somehow manufacture doses for us on Friday.
I have to get permission from my guru.
And from Guru Raj, Dosa Guru Rajananda, maybe he will give permission. We're going to go to a Friday night party of, I don't know what it's called, Christmas something, and Rojo is going to be singing in the choir for that. So we're going to be festive and looking forward to that. So your dosa guru says dosa. Yes, Friday afternoon, says Nilesh. Good. Keep in touch on the way. You have my cell phone text, so send us some messages along the way. Let us know how it's coming along. We'll be sitting here waiting for you. And sometimes Friday afternoon we're online at 1, and sometimes Friday afternoon we run over to the gym in the afternoon. But if you keep in touch, we'll make absolutely sure, even if you're early, that we cut out of there a little bit sooner. So, but if you keep in touch, that'll be nice. So thank you all for playing. Remember, be Parusharama. Be Dewey. And don't feel bad. Parusharama is a really cool sadhaka, and so are you. But don't feel down because you feel misery. That's part of the story. That's one of the beautiful things about the beginning of this story. Parushamama is a really cool guy, and still he gets the teachings. He sits with a very high yogi who explains to him the whole deal and says, okay, now go off to the mountain and do it. And he goes with full confidence, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go to the mountain. And then he has all those doubts come to him that we went through there in those verses. And basically says, my words for his words, I'm still an idiot. I still am an idiot. What am I going to do? I'm going to have to leave this mountain. I'm going to have to go talk to the boss again. I'm going to go talk to Dattatreya again. And remember the end of this chapter, when he got in front of him, that part went away. He suddenly felt this peace and comfort because he was back with Dattatreya. Everything felt okay. And then it says, but the misery was still there. So I'm asking you, please remember that part of the story and don't beat up on yourself because you feel misery. It's not a problem. It's not a problem. The only way it's a problem is if you lie to yourself and say, no, there's no misery. I'm happy. I understand some philosophy of yoga and everything is beautiful and I am fine. Of course, you're fine in the sense that you're Atman. But that's not how you feel at the moment, and there's nothing wrong with it. Remember, Patanjali in Yoga Sutras 30 and 31 of chapter 1 explains what I playfully like to call the 13 yucky things, the obstacles that naturally occur. And if we look at what Parushamama said in the context of Yoga Sutras, that's what it is. It just comes. Om, she is both the universe and the mirror in which this dazzling reflection appears. Yes. True, true, true. So thank you for playing, everybody. And there's Anjan with, I guess, a tune, singing the song. All righty. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow maybe for some other stuff to be continued. Bye-bye. Huh?
Tomorrow is Wednesday.
Tomorrow is Wednesday. We're together 2 times tomorrow. Maybe see you one of them, if not.